With the number 26 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Rams select this elite safety prospect out of Georgia. We are ranking the Rams' top draft needs and also how many Rams were selected in Sports Illustrated's all-time draft. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Subscribe to the fastest growing Rams YouTube channel, trying to get to 17,000 subs. So join the party, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, and let me know down below, what do you think the Rams should do with their first round pick? My name is Doug McKay. Friends call me DMAC. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've been covering LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 sports, Bleacher Report, SI, Dodgers Nation. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. Today I'm flying solo, the People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers. He'll be back Monday, but we've got a jam-packed show. We're looking at the all-time draft that Sports Illustrated just dropped, and there is a good amount of Rams in it. We'll talk about that. Also, ranking the Rams' biggest draft needs and guys they could pick up. But we'll start with a safety prospect that the Rams could take. A safety prospect that the Rams could take in Georgia's Malachi Starks. So the Rams definitely have a major need when it comes to the secondary. When it comes to the cornerback position, and in a lot of different draft mocks, you have the Rams taking the Georgia standout, Malachi Starks, with the number 26 pick. And this could absolutely bolster a Rams secondary that needs a little more talent, a little more star power. And this is from NFL.com about the pick. It says, one of the great things that you've done over the years is draft the best player available, going all the way back to Aaron Donald and Todd Gurley. And you're going to do that here with Starks. I'm not sure safety is where you have the biggest need, but you do need players who can come in and contribute immediately to pull closer to the Eagles in the NFC. You need to make a move like this. Now, Starks is definitely a player that could be a star at the next level. He's a three-time All-American at Georgia. He was a great player there pretty much his entire time. Helped lead them to a fourth national title in school history. On ESPN's big draft board, they have him as the 39th overall prospect. I think that's low for him. If you look at his production at the college level, 197 tackles, 17 passed, defended, 6 picks in 43 games with the Bulldogs. I mean, as a freshman, he was already contributing, so I like that. I mean, his first year with the new team, he had a big year. Hopefully he sees that in the NFL. And then you just kind of look at the tape on him, and you look at some of his highlights. Extremely fluid. Great ball skills, great feel for routes, does a really nice job really just playing the ball the right way to get big interceptions, and he can defend. He can also come up and make plays in the run game. He had the 6th most coverage stops with 10, the 10th most forced incompletions, 5 among SEC safeties. So he can cover, but they can also come up and make plays in the run. This is his NFL.com scouting report saying 3-year starter with the reams of high-leverage games in his resume. Starks is a versatile safety with the size and athleticism to eliminate contested catches and the speed and ball skills to shine when the action travels deep. Connection to the route is inconsistent in man, and he's baited out of position by misdirection, but better discipline and anticipation should clean that up. He's not a true force player near the line, and his pursuit angles can be raggedy, but he gets guys down when he's in position. Starks has feast or famine moments on tape and disappointed with his short area testing at the NFL Combine. He ran well in Indianapolis, though, and was impressive in interviews with teams. He is a future starter as a movable back end piece whose consistency will determine his floor/ceiling. So, interesting pick. Malachi Starks, is he the guy for me? He checks off a lot of boxes at that position, but I don't think that I would go with the safety for my number one pick if I'm the Rams at 26. And we'll talk about other picks that I would make ahead of Malachi Starks, but it's certainly an interesting possibility. Now, some updates on some of the visits. The Rams did meet with Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe, and Jalen Milroe is definitely one of the kind of the rising prospects, is just because of his talent, his ability to throw the deep ball, his ability to just run away from the secondary and make these big explosive plays. And Milroe, he discussed his meeting with the Rams. He said, I just met with the Rams. It was a great meeting with them. No matter what team it is important just to talk ball with them, get understanding of how I view X's and O's, and the process of it is big. The meeting went well. Every one of them, I leave out and they leave out, so it impressed me. So, hey, look, I don't know if there's something here. Milroe has a lot of tantalizing, intriguing gifts, a 4.4 40 in the 40-yard dash. He is a true dual threat guy. He needs to develop more as a passer. Some of his decision-making and his ability to make the intermediate throws definitely left a little more to be desired when you look at the tape. But, I mean, definitely is productive. I mean, Les Snead has hinted at wanting a mobile quarterback, stating that that is a cheat code. And you're talking about a guy that played in high-level football at Alabama, the SEC, CFP, big-time games throughout his career. He averaged 9.4 yards per attempt on his passes. And then you look at what he did on the ground, 726 yards rushing and 20 touchdowns last season alone. So, I mean, you look at 9.4 yards per attempt. You look at his overall body work, 5,678 yards last two seasons, 39 touchdowns and 17 interceptions. I think that it's more of, okay, let's not look at the college production. It's more of kind of what does that tell you about what he could be at the next level. And I think that's largely predicated in how a team could develop him. And look, I think for me, the big kicker when it comes to the Rams and the quarterback position of the draft is, what do the Pittsburgh Steelers do at 21? Because if the Pittsburgh Steelers don't pick up a quarterback that the Rams have had interest in, whether it's Jador Sanders falls, whether it's Jackson Dart, whether it's Jalen Milroe, and those guys become available and the Cleveland Browns don't look to trade up, then that's where it gets interesting to me. And I think that there's no issue with drafting a quarterback, just because you got to start thinking about life after Matthew Stafford at some point, and now could be the time to do it if you truly believe that he could be that guy. But that's what it really boils down to, is you don't think you're just getting a lottery ticket, scratch off, maybe you win, maybe you don't. No, you have to feel very confident that this could be the dude, because if you don't, then you are, one, not going to be giving Matthew Stafford another weapon that he could use that could make this offense even better and help this team win in 2025. And two, you're going to be looking for another quarterback in the next draft, right? So it's a tricky situation. It really, really comes down to how their evaluation fits with each quarterback and what they are looking for as far as his role into this team. I truly believe that the very next quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams is going to be a running quarterback. I'm confident in that. I think that is the direction not only of the Rams and Sean McVay in this offense, but also just all of football is veering towards quarterbacks that bring that dynamic element. And Milroe, compared to Jackson Dart, he offers you that higher upside, that higher ceiling, to where, hey, if things really click, if he finds himself in a good situation with the right coaching and continues to develop as a quarterback, that I think that his star potential is higher than Jackson Dart. I mean, Jador Sanders is an interesting candidate just because of the name on the back of his jersey. I've said he's not prime time, but he's also not Tuesday afternoon TV either. Somewhere in between that, with a lot of potential and the ability to escape the pocket, make plays off and out of structure, and he's accurate down the field. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting if you hear a Rams taking a quarterback pick, or if that's just smoke along the way and they're looking for someone else. But coming up next, we are going to rank the Rams draft needs and throw out some names for each position. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And a reminder that today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by our friends over at Upwork. Selling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. And with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. And it's a great place to find talent. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who can deliver incredible results. Fast and easy hiring, posting a job is free and simple, and within a day with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. It's also cost effective. It helps you grow. Instead of hiring full time, Upwork helps find affordable top tier freelancers to scale my business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so definitely go subscribe over there. And also a major shout out to those everyday listeners out there. We've got a lot of new listeners, a lot of new viewers on YouTube. So if you're new to the channel, if you're new to the pod, definitely join that Everyday Listeners Club. That's where we drop episodes Monday through Friday, sometimes on the weekend, and anytime something drops, you watch every episode, and that way you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. Okay, so let's take a look at these positions of need. I personally believe if you had to pick any position right now for the Rams as far as the glaring position of need, it's the cornerback position. It is in the secondary. And the Rams did bring back Akella Witherspoon on a one-year deal, but they do not have any long-term solutions at that position. Darius Williams, he's back. He's 32. Kobe Durant, he's in the final year of his rookie deal. We don't know even what kind of player he is consistently on a down-to-down basis. Then you have Emmanuel Forbes. They took a chance on him. They claimed him. He was a former first-round pick. Slight. We don't know if he's going to develop into that guy. He's worth a risk. I like the intrigue of it. I'm definitely here for the experiment of Emmanuel Forbes, but it is just that. It is an experiment with a capital E. You had a team move off of him quickly despite him being a first-round pick in the Washington Commanders. So the Rams, they need to find a cornerback that can really be the present almost and the future. Someone that can really take down that position and be additive. The Rams need to find someone that can just build this secondary around, and it's a situation where, hey, do you need to use your first-round pick on it? Maybe, maybe not, but you certainly need to use one of those picks in the first 3 rounds on a cornerback. I am convinced of that. If you want to go high, you got Jahdae Barron out of Texas. We've talked a lot about him on this show. A lot of great experience. The Thorpe Award winner, someone that has just been a playmaker his entire career. You got Maxwell Hairston. Maxwell Hairston is another really interesting name for me that we haven't talked about too much, but he is a player out of Kentucky that is very interesting in his own. And if you look at his draft profile and his scouting report, he's 5'11", 183 pounds, and he ran a 4.28 40 at the combine, a 1.5 10-yard split, 39.5 vertical jump, a 10.9 broad jump. And this is an interesting player to talk about. Here's his NFL.com scouting report says, slender outside cornerback with long arms and impressive ball production. Harrison is capable of playing all forms of zone and man coverage. He anticipates well with his eyes, forward and has the burst to take the ball away, posting 6 interceptions, 3 return for touchdowns over the last 20 games. He stays connected in man coverage with good agility and fluidity, but needs to do a better job of locating the football downfield. He will struggle to contest big wideouts, and his run support will turn off some teams. Harrison has the athleticism and on-ball talent to become a starter, but needs to prove he can hold up to the rigors and physicality of the NFL game. So, yeah, I mean, he does have strengths. I mean, he definitely, like they said, stays connected. It's kind of the buzzword for cornerbacks these days through the transitions and the top routes and things like that. Does a nice job identifying route combos and reads the quarterback, anticipates well. A little undersized, but that's a name that you can look at. And there's a name that we always talked about too is Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. So those are some targets for the cornerback spot. Next big need is interesting to me because I think Rams fans identify this as a big need. But do the Rams themselves identify this as a big need? And that is the inside linebacker spot. Because the inside linebacker spot is one that they have not valued tremendously internally within the organization. I mean, you went out there and you trade away Ernest Jones. Before that, you did have a Bobby Wagner signing, and that came to a surprise and definitely played well, but he wasn't here for a long time. And you look at the current room right now, I mean, they're putting a lot of their eggs in the Omar Speights basket. You bring in Nate Landman, you sign him, and then you have Troy Reeder. So they think that's enough to get it done. Maybe they do. So it's tough to say if they're going to use an early round pick on someone like him. You got Demetrius Knight Jr. is a name that's interesting that we've talked a little bit about, that you could go after. South Carolina linebacker. You got Carson Schwessinger, who we've mentioned a few times on this show, that really, I think for me, if you're kind of looking deep down at he's a UCLA Bruin. I would love to see him in LA. He's someone that could be a surprise first rounder. That'd be a pretty awesome pairing in my estimation. And then you got other names. I mean, Jeffrey Bassa is an interesting name as well that could be a selection. Guy out of Oregon, Pac-12. Nope, a Big Ten guy, right? But, yeah, I think that you look at that position, it really just comes down to, do the Rams think they have enough internally, or can they select someone in the later rounds to fill that need? And then there's tight end. I still have tight end right at the top when it comes to needs. And I still have tight end, even though it's a deep tight end draft. It is a deep tight end draft. Trust me, there's guys in the later rounds that you can find. But let's just look at what the Rams do. What the Rams do is when they're in the pursuit of a position, and they have had their eyes on a tight end for a while now, they usually get what they want. We saw that with the receiver spot. They wanted another receiver. They were interested in Mike Evans. They were interested in trading up for Roma Dunze. They didn't get any of those guys. Finally, they get their guy a year later in Devontae Adams. And then Cooper Kupp is gone. And you still have Puka Nacua. And then you bring back Tutu Atwell. But you look at the tight end spot, what have they done that tells us that they want another tight end, that they want to improve that position and raise the ceiling and the potential of what that position could bring to this Rams offense? Well, they tried to trade up for Dalton Kincaid. They tried to trade up for Brock Bowers. And that was just in the last 2 years. And in the last 2 years, you have not found that long-term solution. Colby Parkinson wasn't that guy. Tyler Higbee, he's still a capable starter for sure. But it could be his last year. I mean, you just don't know what you're going to get out of Tyler Higbee with the remainder of his career coming off the injury. And then Davis Allen isn't the answer either. So that's definitely a position I think that you can look to take this offense to another level in what could be the final year of Matthew Stafford. And I got my eyes on Colston Loveland. I've been talking about him on the show for months now. Elijah Arroyo, Mason Taylor. There's different names out there that you can go after that can bring in guys that can bring a different dynamic that I think this offense sorely needs. Elijah Arroyo out of Miami, bring in the Hurricane. That's someone that is an interesting option. Mason Taylor is another guy out of LSU. We've talked about how Les Snead has mentioned wanting guys from big programs So that's certainly fitting that mold right there. So I expect him to take a tight end. I'm not ready to say in the first pick. I'm going to make my prediction next week on who I think they'll take, but it does sound to me like it could be very high on their list. And then you go to right tackle. So Rob Havenstein, he's going to start in 2025, but this is the last year that he's under contract. And you already have committed to Alaric Jackson at the left tackle spot, bringing him back on a new deal. And I think what you can look at in this year's draft is a depth piece that's the heir apparent to a Rob Havenstein. And in the Locked On NFL mock draft, I took Josh Connolly out of Oregon, and that was with the 40th pick after trading down. So I got the picks, and I got a first-round talent. So I actually got to steal the draft in the Locked On NFL draft, in my opinion. But if you went with this tackle in the first round, I wouldn't be mad. Josh Simmons out of Ohio State, Josh Connolly Jr. out of Oregon. Those are the two guys that I have my eyes on. And you've seen what this Rams team did a couple years ago. What they do back in 2018, they took Joe Noteboom in the third round, and they were hoping that he would grow into that starter spot. They gave him a deal, but unfortunately, he was a disappointment. He did not work out, but they have shown that, hey, you just don't find these right tackles. You don't find these elite premier tackles easily. You really have to find them in the draft. Then we'll talk about wide receivers. So this one's a little different now just because you do have Devontae Adams, but this is a very temporary year-to-year wide receiver room now because Devontae Adams could be here just for a year. Tutu Atwell, they gave him a new deal, but he could be gone after this season. So that would leave you with Puka Nacua and Jordan Whittington. So you could look for that X, that guy that can play on the outside, the guy that could take the top off the defense and be that kind of WR1, and you can mix around with Puka Nacua in different spots. So, I mean, Luther Burden the third, we talked about him. We talked about Jaden Higgins. Emeka Ibuka out of Ohio State is the name they could pursue. And then safety, we talked about safety at the top of the show. Malachi Starks is the name, but at the safety spot, you got Cameron Curl, Quinn Lake, Cameron Kinchins. They are all guys that are right there at the top of their spots on the depth chart, but can Quinn Lake play that star role? Can he be a more traditional type of safety that we've seen? Jalen McCullough is someone they've used in packages under Chris Shula. So they have good depth at safety for sure. Quinn Lake and Cameron Curl, they have one more year on their deals. They could be gone in free agency. We'll see what they look to do. But I think it's about how long they have Chris Shula, really. With Chris Shula, he loves using 3 safety packages. So having another safety that can make plays, that can help this defense in a lot of different ways, could be the move for them. So I definitely think that's kind of where it's at right there as far as the safety spot. But we'll continue to look at these needs. We're going to pick this one up on Monday because you still got the rankings. You got defensive line, got running back. So we'll talk about that on Monday. But coming up next, we will actually, we'll pick this up on the next segment, and then we'll push the all-time Sports Illustrated draft to Monday with Travis. So this is coming up next on Locked On Rams. Did you know that your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you are ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed, as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. This is great for gamers like myself. You don't need the console to be able to enjoy these premium games. With Wi-Fi 6, 6E, and auto low latency mode, advanced technology, Fire TV Stick 4K delivers smoother, more responsive gameplay with lightning fast speeds. You need to stay competitive. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Play high high-quality Xbox games at a fraction of the cost of a console. Already have a console? A Fire TV 4K device is more affordable and easier to travel with, allowing you to take your and your kids' games wherever you plug in. This definitely is super convenient. I got to travel a lot for work with sports and things like that, so I always bring that Fire Stick with me so I can plug it in anywhere. So that's definitely big time to be able to do, so then you don't miss a beat. If you need to play your games, if you want to unload and have some stress relief, that's the place to do it, and you don't have to lug around a massive console. So head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and a compatible controller required. Available on select devices including Fire TV Stick 4K 2nd generation, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd generation, and Fire TV Cube 3rd gen. Who wants to play me at NCAA? Let's do this. But that's... And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Okay, so let's continue our list of the Rams' biggest draft needs. And this one might come as a little bit of a surprise, but next I'm going running back. So we've talked about how Blake Corum could be that guy if Kyren Williams gets injured or they don't get an extension done for Kyren Williams. They took Blake Corum with a 3rd-round pick last season, so you'd probably say to yourself, wait a minute, do they really need another running back? I would say yes, they do, because one, you want to get a different type of running back, one that has a little more speed, that brings that explosive dynamic that you just don't get from your current running backs, and two, with the injury history with the current guys in their group and just the lack of depth and the fact that you don't have Kyren Williams locked up to extension, you might need a couple guys in there. And a guy we've talked about is Jadon Blue out of Texas. But you also got some other names out there. You got R.J. Harvey. That's an interesting name for sure if you want someone that's some speed. He's out of UCF. He's a guy that was highly productive at the college level. He's a smaller guy, 5'8", ran a 4.4 40 at the combine. He's not someone that you would take higher like a Jadon Blue. And then someone like a Brashard Smith is interesting as well. Brashard Smith out of SMU, saw him in the CFP. He's someone that brings an element that's interesting too. 5'10", 4.39, a little quicker. So there are guys that definitely kind of fit what the Rams might be looking for if they want to add a running back. I don't think they want to get someone that's similar to a Kyren Williams or a Blake Corum, but that's the thing. Those guys they're kind of built in the same mold. They move the chains. They're hard runners that aren't going to necessarily break massive runs and get to the end zone like a Saquon Barkley or things like that, not those big playmakers. And that's the thing what the Rams lacked out of their running backs last year. You had just 2 20-yard or more runs all season. So I do think an explosive running back is certainly a need if you're going to try to add at that position. I'm looking for this offense to be the best offense in the NFL, and that's what I'm hoping for this season. And you do that by adding in a lot of different phases. And then you got to say defensive line. Defensive line's another one as well. You got Poona Ford. He is definitely going to be a beast on the interior. He's going to stuff the run or the nose tackle spot. You're going to place him in between Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk. But I do think that you could add another defensive lineman. You could go with a nose tackle, a 3-tech dude that could play a role as a depth piece behind Kobe Turner. You could go with the defensive end as a pass rusher, but I do think that you for sure could improve that position. I mean, you have Tyler Davis, you have Deshaun Johnson, and they have shown some signs, but in the event that they don't emerge like you hope, it's never a bad thing to add depth on the defensive line. Quarterback spot, too. I mean, I hate to say quarterback when you have Matthew Stafford, but like we talked about at the top of the show, guys like Jalen Milroe, Jackson Dart, Kyle McCord even later in this draft could be a move, because that is something that could really set this franchise back. If Stafford retires or they decide to move on, you just don't find great quarterbacks in free agency. And maybe, look, you did re-sign Jimmy Garoppolo. He's a backup. Who knows what his future holds. But I do think that it's something to at least ponder, depending on who's available and what you think your strategy is going to be for next year when guys like Arch Manning are going to be available. But that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, hit the like button if you really want to support the channel. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.